So, let's talk about boxing. You hear it all the time, right? The sport of Ali, of Tyson, of legends. Is it a relic of the past? Or is it secretly staging one of the biggest comebacks in sports history? Well, the answer isn't a simple yes or no. It's actually a lot more interesting than that. Okay, let's get into it.
See, on one hand, you have this whole chorus of longtime, diehard fans who will tell you the sport is just a shadow of its former self. But then, on the other hand, you look at the data and it tells a completely different story. For Gen Z, it's the fourth most popular sport in the entire country. How can both of those things possibly be true at the same time? That is the paradox we are going to unpack today.
All right, first up, let's tackle the arguments for the decline. All the reasons why so many people feel like boxing has kind of lost its way.
And you can really see how all these frustrations just feed into each other, right? You've got this confusing alphabet soup of belts, the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, the WBO. So who's the real champion? This confusion lets the top fighters duck each other for years to protect that perfect, undefeated record. And all the while, MMA and the UFC are over there offering a much simpler, more consistent product. Then you throw in these super expensive once-in-a-blue-moon pay-per-views, and it just becomes incredibly hard for any casual fan to stay invested.
And this Reddit comment it absolutely nails the core problem. A fan gets hyped about a new fighter, they watch some huge match, and then poof, that fighter vanishes for a year, only to come back and fight a total nobody. It just kills all the momentum and leaves fans feeling like the whole thing is more about business than it is about the actual sport.
But hold on, that is only half the story. Because away from all the professional drama, there's this massive revival happening from the ground up.
Forget pay-per-view numbers for just a second and look at this. Over 5 million Americans are now boxing for fitness. This is a fundamental change. The sport isn't just something people are watching on TV anymore. It's something they actually do. And this right here is where the comeback really starts.
And a huge chunk of that growth? It's coming from kids. Parents are looking for alternatives to the usual team sports, and they're turning to boxing gyms that teach discipline, focus, and self-confidence. It's becoming this really powerful tool for personal development.
And all that grassroots energy is translating directly into fandom. I mean, just look at this generational divide. It's staggering. Nearly a third of Gen Z sports fans call themselves avid boxing fans. That's more than 5 times the rate for boomers. The audience isn't dying off. It's just being reborn with a whole new generation.
So why is this happening? Well, it really comes down to a major shift in how young people consume sports. Gen Z is way more likely to follow an individual athlete than they are to follow an entire team. They connect with the personality, the personal story, the brand of that one star. And boxing, well, boxing has always been a sport about individual stories. It's a perfect fit.
Okay, so let's put the pieces together. We've got two totally conflicting realities. A professional scene that feels frustrating and broken, and this booming grassroots revival. The only way to make sense of this is to realize that boxing isn't just reviving, it's evolving into something entirely new.
And the key here is the rise of the boxer as brand. Today's most successful fighters aren't just incredible athletes waiting for some promoter to make them famous. No way. They are their own media companies. They're building massive followings online and telling their own stories directly to their fans.
Ryan Garcia is the poster child for this whole movement. He built this colossal social media following before he even had a major title, mixing that online personality with some serious talent in the ring. He proved that in this new era, the brand can be just as powerful as the belt.
And this all plugs into a bigger trend we're seeing across all of sports: storytelling. Think about what Formula One's Drive to Survive did. It proved that when you give fans a peek behind the curtain at the drama, the rivalries, the human struggle, you create a much deeper, more emotional connection than you get from just watching the race on a Sunday.
And this isn't just a feeling, it has a massive financial impact. Just look at this data from the Netflix golf series Full Swing. Players who came across as relatable saw their social engagement shoot up by over 1,000%. And more importantly, Joel Dahmen's actual value to a sponsor for a single post jumped by over 600%. That's the power of a good story.
So if the product isn't just the fight anymore, if it's the entire story wrapped around the fighter, how does that change the way the sport actually makes money?
It means we're seeing this fundamental shift away from the old pay-per-view model. That model was always transactional. You shelled out a lot of money for one night. The new streaming model is all about building a relationship. It uses big fights not as a one-time cash grab, but as a tool to attract and, more importantly, keep subscribers on a platform, giving them a whole universe of content.
And we just saw the biggest example of this ever. Netflix didn't charge its 270 million subscribers a single extra cent to watch Jake Paul fight Mike Tyson. Why would they do that? Because the value wasn't in the one-time revenue from the fight. The value was in keeping all those subscribers happy and engaged with the platform, reinforcing why they pay that subscription every month.
So, where does all this lead? This massive transformation seems to be creating two very distinct futures for the fight game.
Yeah, we're seeing these two parallel worlds emerge. On one side, you have what the famous director Martin Scorsese might call audiovisual entertainment. These are your celebrity fights, your influencer spectacles, the theme park rides of boxing, right? They're designed for maximum entertainment and mass appeal. And on the other side, you have the cinema, the art form, the sweet science, the high-skilled chess matches between the absolute best fighters in the world, the stuff for the purists.
And this brings us to the final, crucial question for the future of the sport. Can these two worlds, the spectacle and the science, actually live side by side? Or will the enormous financial gravity of the theme park fight eventually pull all the money, all the attention, and all the talent away from the cinema, fundamentally changing the soul of boxing for good?